tissue mobilization, so some of the ball rolling and smashing stuff. So I thought today we would work a bit more on the active stretching element, which is always good to know, and working more on the joint mobilizations with the band. So that's why I have it set up nearby the door. Okay, hang on, almost there, I'm sure. Let's see. I'm never quite sure. Ah, there it is. There's the live button. Perfect. So let me flip over my camera. Dual camera action. Okay. And almost there, guys. Thanks for your patience today. And feel free to join in the chat down below if you have any questions about anything we're doing. The sequences today are coming from the Mysore body program that I have on my Substack. You can go to at Mysore Challenge or just my name on Substack, Adarsh Williams. And it will be all there. So we are going to go live on the Instagram. I hope it's okay. My hair is a little bit fuzzy, but no problem. Hey, IG Live, welcome, and welcome to the YouTube audience as well. Seeing the camera is not quite straight, so let me try to get it a little bit better for you. Today, we are working on the deep hip poses. Tittibhasana will be our goal pose. I have previously worked with you through some of the joint mobilizations with the bands and the banded distraction. And I've worked with you some ball rolling techniques for smashing out your hamstrings, your quads, and whatever muscles might be involved or preventing your full capacity in Tittibhasana. So today I thought I would spend a bit more time on the active stretch element here. And it's learning how to oscillate into and out of peak tension and how to use your muscular control as you're doing these poses. This will make such a big difference in your yoga practice. So you're not just sort of stretching and hanging out on passive tissue, but you're building strength, which is a big theme in all of my teachings. Something that was born of my experience as a Pilates student. I thought that it always made sense within yoga to work on strength, and I see that as often a missing element. So today's practice, active strength. Let us begin. We're going to start with a distracted joint mobilization. So I'm just taking a standard issue yoga belt and I'm going to put that into my door frame. So the way I would normally do this is with, I have a lifting strap that I've put into the doorway, or you could use something like a sturdy towel, a kitchen towel. And what I would do is I would make a loop and I would try to get it into the door as good as I can and then close the door so that it sticks there. Make sure it's a sturdy door. Don't be pulling your door out of the wall. So I'm going to put the yoga strap into the, and it's just a standard yoga strap. Well, it's a Manduka yoga strap, of course. But if you just have a regular old yoga belt at home, that will work as well. So I'm just keeping it on the long setting. There's no particular measurement here. I just want to get it into a position that I can then put it around my hips. So I'm going to have to move the camera to make sure that all of this is caught. But let me just walk toward the camera so you can see where I've got it. The belt is low. So this is the hip joint. You'll know if you just lift up one leg, that's going to be the place where your femur bone goes into the hip socket, if that makes sense. In fact, let me just stay here for a moment so I can look at you and see what you guys are up to. Hey, thank you so much for joining. Nice to see you here. I should move my computer so I can see that better too. But I am here working on my banded hip distraction. So as I get that into my hip socket, have to move the camera just a bit. Apologies. As I begin to adjust this, I think it will be easier for you to see what's happening. So we are first mobilizing the hip joint the femur bone is able to sink back into the hip socket. And this is great because when I start to bend forward into my forward bending position, you can see how the band, much like my yoga teacher, is starting to pull that femur bone back. And so I could easily walk out into something that looked like a downward dog, and I would just spend time here. So if you're interested in something like yin yoga, this is a great way to do your yin yoga. You can just relax and let the belt support you. So this is so nice. Anytime you're doing these relaxed stretches, you're going to slowly elongate the fascia and begin to melt the fascia. So I'm not going to stay here too long. I just wanted to demo for you what it's great to do for any hip tightness or any stiffness that you might be finding along your hamstrings, which is pretty typical if you're a beginner to yoga. So mobilization number one is the banded downward dog. The second one we're going to do is with the heavy resistance band. So this is the 42-inch monster band. And I'll do the same. I'm going to tie it up. I'll make my loop here onto the wall. Now, I can do all of the same mobilizations with the heavy band. It will give me not quite as much support as the static strap, but it'll give me a good amount. And you would also want to work into the front of the hip. So these heavy bands are especially effective for this because you can create more of an interaction with the band. For example, I love to do this movement that I call knee kisses. So the knee kisses, what I'm going to do is I'll lift the knee and I want to feel the femur bone driving forward. So I have the sensation here on that psoas. I'm going to kiss the knee, inhale, and then exhale. And I'll work in and out of that peak tension. So if I were really going for this, I would be pulling back a lot more on the band, so I would create even more tension for myself, even more stretch for myself. But since I'm trying to keep everything on camera here, then I'm more or less staying within the window of the camera. But you would get the picture here, so you would work into it. Now, I'll give you a great tip or way to think about these joint mobilizations. It's not only one direction. If you think about something like the hip, you want to move in 360 degrees, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we'll say this is pretty much just straight forward, so the front of the hip. But if I start to adjust a bit, notice how now that femur is being pulled slightly outward. If I continue, then you can probably see in the mirror, or sorry, in the camera, how my femur bone is being pulled all the way that way. So it gives a different feeling on the joint, continues, right? So it would go all the way around. So I just turn completely, or of course, the other direction. So all of these are great positions to work into, and I would encourage you to spend some time. You just start to work into those different corners of the hip, all 360 degrees, and you figure out where you're stiff, where you're most limited, and try to work into that. Try to strengthen where you can, and try to release, and let go of the tightness where you can. So obviously we would do both legs, but I'm just keeping things rolling here today. I must say that today is a moon day, so I have not been practicing today, not yet. So I'm feeling a little bit tight myself, so this will be really nice to warm up with you. We're going to move into lockouts, hamstring lockouts. The first feeling is that the leg bone is fitting into the hip joint, so important in these movements. And then the next feeling will be that the legs are straightening and you're getting the full stretch. We don't need to stay in the stretch for very long. We just oscillate into the peak tension and then out of the peak tension. This way, there is no pain. Well, maybe just a moment if it hurts at all, but it should start to feel good. And I think that's one of the, maybe things that's not always understood by the beginner is that it does start to feel good. At first, it can sting a bit. It can burn a bit. Oh, I'm so tight. But then it'll work itself out. Okay, so hamstring lockouts. For this one, I'm just going to start with my feet about hip width apart or sitting bone width apart, and then I'll start to go forward. Now, when you're going forward, you'll quickly identify where you're tight, and I can feel, okay, this is already starting to awaken my hamstring, which is perfect, so it doesn't take much for me. Now, when I bend my knee, you'll see that releases the hamstring pressure, right? In fact, I want to inhale here with my knees bended, trying to feel my good hip joint, so I have a good flexion here. And then on the exhale, I can gradually start to straighten out. And already I can feel that I'm much deeper into my fold. Now, I'll give you another tip here is that you can go one at a time with the legs. So you can work on this oscillating movement. You inhale, one knee bended, and then with the exhale, you straighten that knee. Does that make sense for you? I'll show you in the back as well. So, oh, there I am, still on camera. So you can then oscillate the one knee bended and then straighten. So inhaling and exhale. And these are great because we're able to release the tension around the hamstring, maybe even the back tension releases, and then in the exhale, we're able to straighten. Now, what you can start to do is give yourself an assist. Maybe you want to hold the leg or put the hand on the floor, and you do the same. When you inhale, you bend the knee, so you're releasing that pressure. And then in the exhale, you slowly to straighten. We're going to collect 10 of these total. So inhale, knees bend. And exhale to straight. Oh, getting so flexible now. Inhale, the knees bending. Exhale to straight. Can we do 2 more for good measure? Inhaling super deep into your hip hinge at this point. And then exhale, big stretch. Oh, it burns. Here's the last one. Inhaling. And then with your exhale. Oh my goodness. That is so good. So afterwards, you can just squat down to make sure that you're still on camera. Okay, so that's already powerful stuff. We're strengthening along the front of the body, the quads, the psoas, and then we're stretching along the posterior chain as well. It is so good to do this. You can take your yoga blocks if you have yoga blocks. If you don't have the yoga blocks, it's okay. But I'll show you one that I think is really nice that allows you to offload pressure onto your head. So what you'll need to do is find the right setting for you. So if you're very flexible, you might even have one block on the floor. But for me, let's say I will start with this particular setup. So I think this should work for me. Maybe I can go a little bit lower. Let's see what happens. Boom. So with my knees bended, my head is on the block. I think it's a little bit too high. So I'm going to just go here. I'll inhale. So the knees are bended. And then with the exhale, I can slowly straighten. Oh, that's a good spot. And what's great is that I can now push down through my head. The pressure is offloaded onto the head. That way, when I straighten, it's even easier. So my body is saying, this is great. This is easy. And I would collect 10 of these. So I inhale and exhale. And I'll keep rocking it, inhaling. Maybe even a little lower with my block. Let's see what happens. Oh, baby. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. There we go. Inhaling and exhale. Can we do 3 more? I don't know. I'll do my best though. Inhale strong through the pelvic muscles. Always Mula Bandha, and exhale to extend. Last 2. Inhaling and exhale. And the last one will inhale and exhale. So that was amazing. You can always sit on your blocks and we'll have a little chat here. So your basic pattern involves the leg bones, the femur, fitting into the hip joint nicely. And this is one of those things that as a new yoga student, I wish I really had understood. I think I did spend a lot of time trying to stretch out my tight muscles, trying to stretch out the hamstrings and all of that. But what we begin to understand with your alignment and paying attention to this is that it's more about the joints being congruent, that everything is fitting together nicely in a good position. And that's what's going to most quickly give you the benefits that you're looking for, or at least the openings that you're looking for. So we're going to turn this into more of a flow. And this way we can do one leg at a time with the hamstring lockout, and then we'll work into that Tittibhasana. So we have the basic premise of bending the knees to release the pressure, and then extending the knees to turn on the pressure to really give a big active stretch. Okay, so all you're going to do is, if you're using your yoga block, you can use your yoga block. All you'll do is the downward facing dog. So I'll have a quick look to make sure that I'm still on camera for everybody. It's looking pretty good. Lower you down a bit. Yeah. Hopefully this will be a good angle for everyone to follow along. So all I'm doing from the downward dog is stepping my right hand toward the left. That way I'll have some room when I go to step the right foot out. So this is the lizard crawl. I think this is a familiar movement for many yoga students or movement practitioners. Notice that the knee is bended. I'm working on the basic frame here. So the foot, the knee, and the hip are all tracking in one row. So you can try to get a look or a feel for that on yourself. Now you're going to inhale. You want the trunk against your thigh best you can. And then when you exhale, you try to straighten out that knee. Inhale, the knee bends, that releases the pressure, and exhale to straighten. So obviously the lower you go with the head, the more stretch you will feel. Eventually in the Tittibhasana, we're trying to get the head behind, or the shoulder behind the leg. So you can always work a little bit deeper into these poses. Just like before, it's always great to let the head rest. And I think you'll find it even more relaxing. And always fuss around with the yoga blocks to get everything the way you like it. Inhaling and exhaling. And it is intense. It's intense. Feel free to add variation. So it's not only this front leg or front hamstring that we're after, we're also thinking about the back leg as well. So maybe I'll turn just a bit so you can see what's happening. I'm going to work on bringing the heel toward the hip. So these are butt kicks. You want to squeeze and release. Inhale, you want to feel you have a good activation along your corset. Then exhale, squeeze. If you want to do this Pilates style, you can double pump. So you inhale, you exhale, pump, pump, and down. Inhaling, exhale, and down. So this is a great way to increase the strength along your hamstring, which will also increase the flexibility along the front. One hand washes the other, okay? So, and work into these different angles as well. In the Mysore body series, you will see the different options for working into that back leg. But for now, let's just keep things rolling. We're going to transit back. You can just do a dog press. And we'll do the other side. So left hand stepping toward the right, and then you'll step the left leg. So there are many great sequences you could do here, such as mountain climbers, that I would love for you to enjoy squeezing those hip flexors as well. So it's good for you to explore these possibilities, that you're not just hauling the leg forward and stretching out passively, but work on contraction throughout the entire movement phase. For now, hamstring lockout. So we're going to isolate this left side again, foot, knee, hip, lined up. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And as you naturally loosen up, you always can go lower, working bit by bit. If your back leg is on the floor, that's no problem. I should have the counter on the screen for you, but I'm doing about 10, and then we'll collect some butt kicks on this right side. So as we get that leg on the camera there, think about tightening up your corset. So you're not overarching the spine here. You're trying to isolate the movement much more to the hip flexor and the quad. So when you inhale, tap the foot, exhale, pump, pump. That second squeeze of the hamstring, you can really feel the muscle. Oh, it's so good to squeeze those hamstrings after all that mean old stretching. So squeeze, 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 and we'll move on. Let's do a celebratory vinyasa. I think it would be nice to celebrate these very deep hips that we've created today. So high and low plank. When you inhale, take your time. Hopefully things feel really nice through the upward dog. And exhale, the downward dog, also pretty good. And then both feet to the outside of the hands. So this is the Tittibhasana position. Hopefully everybody's still on the camera here. Let me give you a little movement. Hey, nice to see everyone joining today. So cute. So we're going to work into the full lockout position. And I'll often take my yoga brick, so I have a built-in stool. It's nice to be able to relax into the squat, especially if you are tight, like I am, especially my ankle. So it's nice to be able to relax into the resting squat position. So we're basically going from here, this deep squat, this deep hinge, into the fold. And working toward the Tittibhasana means that you're gradually bringing your trunk inside as well. So we've worked a lot on the hamstring. I thought now I would try to work more on activating the trunk, the torso. So here's how to think about this. If you imagine that you're doing an abdominal exercise, so you're doing something like a crunching movement, right? If you've really studied the movement through the crunch, you have the front ribs moving down, so you have that top part of the abs, but also the tucking under. So your pelvis is tucking under to give you that curling effect of the bottom abdominals also contracting. So you can imagine shortening the space here between your belt buckle and your sternum. So you're trying to compress that down. Now, just like if you were on the back, it's always nice to have support in the head. Your elbows are wide. You can see those with the peripheral vision. And you keep the head pushing slightly back into the hands. It's just to create a bit of a interface between the head and the hand. So I inhale and exhale into my crunch. Inhale, I release that pressure a bit. I'm not overextending, but I can just come out a bit. And then exhale into the crunch. So that's the idea. Let's see what happens if we're into our flexion position here. So try to get a good angle for you. You can see my knees are bended, and I can keep the knees bent for this one. It's not a problem at all. So I'm going to inhale. Hopefully you see I'm a little bit straighter. And then with the exhale, I flex. Inhaling and exhaling. So it feels like a standing abdominal crunch. And once I get the basic movement down, you can work on giving yourself a deeper stretch by holding the legs or even the back of the leg into the stretch. I inhale and exhale. Lead with the abdominals. The arms assist at the end. Let's do two more. This is the last. Inhaling and exhale. Strong squeeze. And you can release. And we have a seat. That is intense. So as you're doing these, just like 10 repetitions of any type of strength training, you're going to feel it. So you're going to feel the muscles working. Nothing should feel like pain. And if you are fatigued or if you can't manage a good repetition, then you don't do 10, you do 5 or you do 4. It's okay, especially if these movements are new for you Or if it's super challenging, maybe you're recovering from injury, something like that. This is totally normal, okay? So take your time, all is coming. We're going to add one more element, and this will move us toward the full Tittibhasana sequence. So this combines the lockouts of the hamstring with that abdominal flexion that we just practiced. Slowly, slowly. So we'll set up again with our feet wider than the shoulders. So this is the basic Tittibhasana setup. Now, depending on your range of motion, you've got the hands on the floor, you're holding the ankle on the outside, or if you're warmed up, maybe you're even holding the ankle at the backside here, and that way you can flex the trunk inside the legs a bit more. The knees are bended, inhaling, keep your pelvic muscles engaging. Then on the exhale, you will flex the trunk while straightening the knees. So it's a simultaneous flex and extension of the knee. Inhale, the knee bends. You can release that tension a bit, hip tension, trunk tension. And with the exhale, you flex. All the way in. And we continue. Inhaling and exhale. And rest. It burns. We always call this area Thailand here, so you can probably feel the burning through Thailand, which is great. You can feel those muscles contracting and getting stronger. So we're going to add a vinyasa. It's always nice to clean the slate between the poses, and then we'll do one final approach on Tittibhasana. And this would actually be the easiest version. So I saved the easiest for last. My apologies. So let's do a vinyasa. Take your time as you step back and move through the vinyasa with control. In the high plank, you feel that you're tight, you're stable. Exhale, lift. Inhaling the face upward dog, where you want to reset. So the front of the hips should feel like they are opening. Yeah, and you can stay for several breaths here, right? It's not a hurry situation. Should feel just like the lunges, the hamstrings are active. Okay, enough. Stepping through to seated. So as you make your way through to the seated pose, we'll lie down. You can use your pillow for this. Always nice to have a pillow. And this is going to be your reclining option for Tittibhasana. So this is great for any level, but even for people who are quite flexible, it's a good one to work on. So it creates our basic lockout feeling. We're going to bring the right knee into the chest. If you're flexible, you might have your knee all the way to the chest or even outside. You can clear the rib cage. So if you're super flexible, maybe you're here. If you are tight, your knee may be further away. So that might be the end range of your hip. No problem. Inhale. When you exhale, extend the knee. So you just straighten out. Yeah, nice and straight. Now, this might be a tight position. You just want to make sure you finish with the knee straight, okay? So that's the main thing. Inhale here and exhale to straight. Now, if you are flexible, then you might be here, 90 degrees, or maybe on a good day, you'll be here, or my goodness, so many of my yoga friends out there are doing these incredible ranges of motion. So whatever you're working on here, the main principle is the lockout. So when you inhale, you're able to release that pressure. The leg bone moves into the hip socket. So you're really trying to feel that articulation. And then in the exhale, you're able to straighten. Okay? Just a couple more there. And you would do the other side. So same thing. Inhale, releases the pressure, exhale to extend. Now, if you want to do both legs together, by all means, keeping the knees together will give you one feeling. Inhale, the feet can flex as well. It's a good practice to activate your ankles, and then exhale to straighten. We'll do 3 more. Inhale, the feet flexed, and exhale to straight. Last 2. And the last one, inhaling and exhale. Good. So I wanted to keep the lesson fairly short today and try to work on a few things that would be very immediately actionable in your yoga practice. The principle was hamstring lockouts, but you can use this for any of your joints. The main idea is that you're working into and out of the peak tension without ever suffering through the peak tension. Unless you feel steady there and you can start to hold for your, let's say, 5 breath count, then that's great. You want to be eventually fully capable in all of these poses. That is my wish for you. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. You can hit me up in the comments below there. If you are interested in my program, send me a message, leave a comment, and I will send you the link for everything. So I have free photos and text about the principles, and then the videos behind a paywall. But the pictures and the text, I think, is good for you too. So this is the Mysore body, which is a play on words, right? People are always saying, oh, Mysore back, Mysore hamstrings. So this was to work on some of those areas, especially as related to the deep hips and hamstrings. The peak pose here is Tittibhasana, quite a strong firefly posture, but it's nice to have these challenges. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Monday. I will have the same here in Groningen in the Netherlands. A little bit rainy today, but we can use it. I look forward to seeing you next Monday for more. I'll be in the Bay Area next week, so perhaps you'll be catching me there live in San Jose, live in the East Bay, Pleasanton, Livermore. It's going to be amazing. So, see you next time in California. Om Namah Shivaya. Thanks, everyone.